UK's newest Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, faces the political and economic test of his career. The Conservative Party is fractured and Britain's public finances are battered. To unify the party and fix the economy will test the political skills of a leader who have been involved in national politics for only 7 years.
And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, and that work begins immediately.
Rishi Sunak says we are facing a profound economic crisis. Big words, not to mention depressing, but do they really stack up? Is the UK really facing something unique? Can he blame much of it on his predecessor? Or is something else going on? What is Rishi Sunak's solution to Britain's problems? Hello and welcome back to Finance Insights. We will answer all of these questions in this video and also Sunak's insane plan to fix the UK economy in no time. So make sure to watch the video till the end. Rishi Sunak took over as Britain's Prime Minister on Tuesday, the third in 7 weeks, hoping to slow down the revolving door at 10 Downing Street and restore stability to a government in turmoil. But as he assembled a cabinet and began to confront a grave economic crisis, Sunak faced formidable political challenges, for which analysts said his 7 years career in national politics had not fully prepared him. I will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government's agenda, a somber and solitary Sunak said on Downing Street. After meeting King Charles at Buckingham Palace, this will mean difficult decisions to come, he said. Britain has to restore its international financial credibility after outgoing leader Liz Truss's plan for unfunded tax cuts and a costly energy price guarantee spooked the bond market last month and forced the Bank of England to intervene. A former Chancellor of Exchequer, Rishi Sunak is expected to pull Britain back to more mainstream policies after Liz Truss's experiment in trickle-down economics, which rattled financial markets and badly damaged Britain's fiscal reputation. Rishi Sunak put economic prudence at the heart of his summer campaign. He said he would only lower taxes once Britain had gripped inflation, while Truss's immediate package of tax cuts would not be credible and would push up mortgage costs, he said. Liz Truss's misfires have made Sunak's job even more difficult. Britain's straitened public finances and its higher borrowing costs, a consequence, in part, of rising interest rates in reaction to her policies, will require painful spending cuts. That will further test Sunak's political skills. Last summer, he struggled to sell his tough love message to party members who prefer Liz Truss's supply-side remedies. Political analysts said the sheer magnitude of Liz Truss's failure was Sunak's biggest asset. The Conservatives are trailing Labour's by more than 30% points in some poll. Even those who ardently oppose Rishi Sunak recognize that he is likely their last hope of avoiding a general election rout that would sweep hundreds of Conservative lawmakers out of their seats. After Liz Truss has resigned, he said he was running against to fix Britain's economy and unite the warring Conservative Party. I have the track record of delivery, a clear plan to fix the biggest problems we face, and I will deliver on the promise of the 2019 manifesto, he said. There will be integrity, professionalism, and accountability at every level of the government I lead, and I will work day in and day out to get the job done, Sunak added. There is no doubt that the UK is facing tough economic times right now. Britain is facing an economically toxic combination of recession and rising interest rates. The Bank of England is trying to tame double-digit inflation while consumers face rising costs and falling real incomes. Looking at measures like the Purchasing Managers Index from S&P Global, a measure of how businesses are faring right now, and it is contraction territory. This is a recession warning and no mistake. And there are certainly some factors that will make this a grim year or two for households. For one thing, mortgage costs are rising and rising fast. The average 2 years fixed rate mortgage is currently up above 6%, a level which implies the highest repayments as a percentage of household income since the late 1980s or early 1990s. This is clearly not a good news. And it's a similar story for energy bills. Even after you account for the energy price guarantee introduced by Liz Truss, the amount the average household spends on energy this winter will still be the highest we have seen since at least the 1950s. Again, not a good news. And note that since this scheme has been shortened for 2 years to 6 months, it's quite plausible the costs are even greater next year. Sunak promised to support people through a winter of high energy bills, having criticized Trusses for wavering over handouts. Put it all together and any measures of collective standards of living suggest an astonishing fall this year. We all are going to be much poorer relative to what we typically want to spend our money on. and that in large part is down to the impact of higher energy prices, which creep into every part of our lives. Nor it is especially fair to blame all these problems on Liz Truss. They pretty much all predate her. And here's the really interesting thing. The spike in government bond yields that followed her and Kwasi Kwarteng's mini budget has now been almost completely erased. Those gilt yields are now nearly back to where they were before, so to our expectations for Bank of England interest rates next year. This is an extraordinary turnaround, a consequence of the fact that the Truss's government is no more. But it means that actually much of the damage has now been erased. It's worth pondering this for a moment. Remember, the rise in gilt yields as international investors look askance at the UK pushed up the potential cost of borrowing both for households and for governments. It meant that if the government carried on having to issue debt at those kinds of interest rates, then its debt interest rate would have been a lot higher. Credibility premium on government debt is shrinking. But now that the credibility premium on government debt is shrinking, that problem is no longer, well, a problem. It may soon have disappeared altogether, which raises a question: why did Rishi Sunak try to cast such a somber mood on the steps of Downing Street? Our suspicion is that it's about 60% politics and about 40% economics. The politics first: if he convinced the public and his MPs that things are grim, it means less resistance for inevitable cuts. Much as COVID united the party, perhaps he thinks the threat of economic contagion could do something similar. Sunak's warning are only 40% economics. The 40% economics is intriguing because there is a virtuous circle here. If he can deploy a phrase like profound economic crisis and difficult decisions, he can persuade the market that he is really serious about cutting debt, which in turn should push down the gilt yields even lower. This means the hole in the public finances suddenly gets smaller too. The Bank of England has projected that the United Kingdom is already in a recession, and a gauge of business activity in October slumped to its lowest level in 21 months. But here's the thing, none of these challenges are necessarily Britain's alone. The UK is not the only major economy facing a potential recession. Others in Europe will probably have even deeper contraction this winter. Disappointing productivity is something many developer economies struggle with. Interest rates are rising everywhere. Real estate is crashing the world over, be it in the United States in the West or in China in the East. It's the scene everywhere. And that is before you consider the deepest issue facing the global economy right now. Most gringlingly, we seems to be in the early stages of a new Cold War, which could result in the creation of trading blocs rather than a fully globalized world. And this prognosis is, frankly, more optimistic than many. This will have enormous economic implications. We have published a series of videos on the US and China housing market crash and the massive recession we are already into. Also, we have published videos on how Russia and China are crushing the West economy. Make sure to watch the videos by clicking them on your screens right now. We will see you in another informative video, so make sure you don't miss subscribing to Finance Insights. Goodbye!